Well, hello guys, this is Jana Benoon and I am in Prague with a gentleman called Harold Kautz. I have met him here on Peace Award that was here at the conference in Prague in Lucerna building, and there was a lot of talk about Illuminati. This gentleman here has some very interesting things to say, so I decided to bring him in front of camera so he can share with us his work. Harold, can you please briefly describe to us who you are and what you are about? What do you do?
I would call myself an exceptional scientist. I have never worked for any association that is working for the system, for the society, not university, no big companies. But I went through a broad field of research areas like medicine, energy technologies, environmental monitoring. And I have the tendency to go down to the bottom of the rabbit holes if I do something. And this brought me during the last years into a pretty exposed position where I network with many people, connect the fields of research. And actually, to name things, I've been into free energy research, so cutting-edge energy technologies for a couple of companies in Germany. That was kind of the main field of research. Then some people might know me about translating the weather modification technologies of Wilhelm Reich to the established science language, because scientists tend to invent words of their own when they find something new. But actually, you can explain all this when you understand the original Maxwell equations. You can kind of say whatever he is doing for weather modification, soft weather modification, can be explained by normal science as well. So I've been doing this translating work. And in 2012, I was invited to Norway for 1 year, where I started to work on medicine. And this is basically where the big adventure began, because the farmers in the area had massive problems with plant death in 2012. And it was not explainable. It was beautiful weather, enough rain, enough sun. And just the grass was getting brown spots and dwindling to nothing. And some areas just stopped growing. You know, they compute time out for nature. They took the first harvest of hay, and the second one did not grow. So they came with chemical analysis to my address. They just knew there's a crazy scientist from Germany. We could ask him because they had the analysis, but they couldn't read it. So I had these papers on my table, and I just saw, okay, there's a fingerprint of metals that are above the normal level, which was barium, strontium, titanium, and aluminum. And if you Google this, you have thousands of hits with the chemtrail community, having the same measurements all over the world. But, maybe other people would have said, that's it, it's chemtrailing, goodbye, But I just went into older values to see how much of these metals were there during the Industrial Revolution. And it turned out that this is not normal poisoning, because we had times with 100 times more metals in the plants or around the roots of the plants if you have the acid rain period. And it didn't harm nature at all, especially not in Norway. Germany had the death of forests at that time due to acid rain, but Norway was not affected by it. So I had to say, yes, we have this fingerprint that hints to other places with the same fingerprint, say that first, but it's not toxic enough to explain the damage. And this is kind of the point where I started to dive deeper into the rabbit hole, and we found back then one explanation that was a new type of toxicity, which I would call electro-optic toxicity, because the fingerprint hints to one artificial nanocrystal, which is barium strontium titanate, that is a piezo crystal with electro-optical properties that can explain the damage. If you have like normal ground radiation from radar, microwave, whatever, you excite the piezo crystal, they spit out electrons, and then they burn the plants from inside out. You have like absorption lines of the crystals, they absorb UV exactly on the wavelength where plants have the cell division signal. So if the signal is absorbed, the cells stop dividing. So you could explain 100% on the spot all the damage that could be observed on the fields and in the forests by these crystals. And then I went into quantitative analysis, and we could do this not in Norway, there were not enough data in Norway, but for Germany we could calculate the total amount of about 8,000 tons of nanocrystals being deposited every year on the German territory. 8,000 tons. And this is state monitoring, environmental monitoring by the state. And you get precise numbers from this. And just looking where it comes from, the first step was military technologies, because you have rocket shields with particulate plasmas, utilizing these nano piezo crystals for military applications, radar range enhancement, 3D battlefield monitoring, all this stuff. So there was a kind of explanation where it comes from and who is doing it. It's done by spray pyrolysis from jet engines. So they just have additives in the fuel, and in the jet engine you kind of create the nanocrystals by burning the little fuel bubbles sprayed. Every little droplet of fuel is giving one nanocrystal, just with an additive containing the weak chemistry of the metal salts. So everything could be explained and made sense. So that was kind of the first research period, realizing that military technologies are about to kill the biosphere of the planet. Yeah, full stop, for that moment. And then I was kind of established in the groups that were into monitoring chemtrails, explaining chemtrails. And there I was confronted with another thing regarding health problems, and that was the Morgellons disease.
That's what I was wondering about, if that's what they do to the plant, as you're described, is for everything. What does it do to human body? Yeah, there is an effect on human body. Actually, the nano piezo crystal is the transmissive agent of mad cow disease and Creutzfeldt-Jakob. Okay. If you have 1 gram of this powder, white powder, and you label it as the agent for TSE, for mad cow disease, you need a military convoy to transport it from A to B because it's meant to be so dangerous. At the same time, there are 8,000 tons of it airborne in Germany every year, and people get sick. So this is something that should, I guess, should have some reactions from the people and from the government to prevent this being happening. But nobody connects the dots unless you kind of dive deep enough. But once looking into the health issues, there was another topic that was the Morgellons disease that was connected to airborne fibers that must come from somewhere. We didn't find out where they come from. But if they are airborne, they come from the sky. I don't know how. Can you describe the disease? I'm sure people have no idea what it is.
The thing that is obvious is that some people with a weak health have red and blue fibers growing out of their skin. Wow. So they start to scratch everything open, and then you can see the fibers, and you can see little tiny hexagonal crystals coming out as well. And if you go into deeper research, you find that also they have intestinal parasites that look like shrimps, like up to 5 centimeter big shrimps that have these hexagons on a kind of eye that looks like an insect eye. And from the insect eye, these hexagons are coming off.
This is horrific.
And yeah, it is ugly. It took some courage to dive into this ugly research. But it's a rabbit hole. I cannot other than dive deeper once I'm once I'm in it. So the problem with this disease is if you bring these parasites to biological analysis, they tell you it's food left over. It's plant material. It looks like meat, you know. It looks like a normal animal being, or like a worm, or the structure of the tissue is animal-like, but the chemical analysis is plant-like. So they send the people back home. You don't have parasites. Everything is normal. You ate something. You didn't chew well enough. So, you know, it survived, which is, from the chemical point, correct. Okay. Yeah. And if you put all the dots together. Okay. And another symptom with the Morgellon cases is that they have what they call delusional parasitosis. They have the feeling of crawling insects inside the body, on top of the body and inside the body, but the insects are invisible. Yeah? So this is madness. This is labeled as delusional, and they get psychopharmaceuticals to shut up their gob. Yeah? So these are the three aspects of the disease. And if you go deeper into research, you find that there are fungi that are heavily worked on with genetic engineering, that have the ability to reproduce a secondary genetic cluster and build fruiting bodies in the form of the secondary genetics. So basically they have the fungus DNA inside. This is what is taking care of the growing fibers in the body. And they have like a secondary genetic cluster that is brought in with the infection, and that is making sure that the fruiting body grows in the form of the secondary genetics. And what the fruiting body displays actually is a crossbreed of spider and ant, which would not work in normal biology. But the fungus is growing this. And if you have a secondary genetic cluster that is building a pseudo animal, just a mushroom mimicking, you still have the cluster of the genetics, and the genetic cluster is building up a bioenergetic being. And once the mushrooms go off, the bioenergetic being can detach and still live in the body of the one who is growing it. And this is the feeling of insects crawling.
This is madness.
This is biotechnology on cutting edge level. Yeah.
Who did
this? There's one hint who is doing this. You have the same fibers as the traceable element in the brand new $20 note in the United States. If you look on the dollar note with a microscope, you see blue and red fibers that are identical with this fungus. So you might say at the end, you know, follow the money, the banking system is behind this. But this is bigger, you know, it's just one hint. You find the same fibers in the black magic tradition from 1500, 1600 in Europe. This is where the name comes from. If you look for the earliest name where Morgellons are first described, this is North European witchcraft. Yeah? So it's the first hint to trace this back to black magic traditions. But there's one very strong hint. If you look at these secondary genetic beings, you find them in black magic traditions. They're all over the place. It's the spiders. If you look at the Freemasonry, the god of Freemasons is a three-headed spider. Mm-hmm. Yeah? The three-headed, if you look, there are some Morgellon victims that are clairvoyant as well, that have a sensation for what is crawling inside their body. And they made paintings of this. Mm-hmm. And this is the god of Freemason, what they painted. It's him. Put them side by side. You have the other traditions that like come from like the Arab knowledge about demonic realms. Mm-hmm. There were many people throughout history that were painting the demons they could see. Mm-hmm. And you have the snakes and you have the spiders.
So this is from chemtrails.
And this is what is, I don't know. I just know it's airborne. We have pictures of billions of these fibers in the air. You can see them at night. If you apply a black light, they give back a visible light. This is all the chemistry that is inside. It's always about up and down converting frequencies, because this, if you want to see the scientific papers, you can find scientific papers describing the hexagons and the fibers. This is pure transhumanism, building an interface between radio signals and DNA light communication. So this is a technology designed to take over the light body of the human being, which means to take over his entire spiritual experience of being a self. Yeah. This is what transhumanism is about, creating an interface between computer-generated or AI-generated microwave signal and DNA light communication, which is basically us. Yeah. We are consciousness. We have a body, but we are consciousness. And what they try to take over with transhumanism is the consciousness, by creating a technology that is able to have a read-write relationship, reading out consciousness, collecting it with an antenna, and playing in consciousness. If you can read out, you can play in, because you know the fine structure of the signals. You know, like a tape recorder. Getting you angry, reading out anger, sending the signal to him, making him angry. And if as long as this is on this binary level of plus minus electromagnetics, it can override the mind. It can never override the heart, because the heart is on trinary electromagnetics.
Okay.
Yeah? This is different. So this can kind of completely control mind and sexuality, because this is the part of the light body that is binary. This is our big chance to survive this attack and the assimilation behind this. Because if the heart is ruling, you realize this is not you. You realize there's something within you, but you realize it's not you. So this is the way out.
It reminds me, when, like biblically, speaking to my audience, that when Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you, and he was pointing here.
Yes,
you know?
This is where it is.
Yeah. Okay, keep going. But I question. I'm sorry. I forgot to use microphone. I'm very sorry. It's as you saying this, very shocking, because I did not know about that. How many people are sick like that? Do you have an idea?
Infection rate is 100%.
Wow.
But only about 600,000 people worldwide show visible symptoms. The thing is, if these fibers grow with a healthy body, the immune system says, not within me, I don't need a fungus infection. And then it kills the fungus, but the leftovers, they plastify or silicify. So they build a glass structure so that the technology part is still working. This is not dangerous. It's just a leftover in the body that is doing the radio signal work. But if your immune system is down, if you're over-acidified and heavy metal polluted, then the body says, oh, a fungus, great, he can help me extract the poisons. And then the body gives the signal to the fungus to multiply explosively. And this is where you get the visible symptoms. So infection rate is 100%. But ugly visible symptoms are maybe 500,000 people worldwide at the moment, but accelerating, because we are eating an unhealthy diet.
You told us some very shocking information, and some of the people listening will know about this. You know, you would be surprised how informed people are, and I didn't hear about it because I just simply, my head is in many different directions, but I feel blessed by meeting you. But we gave them this shocker, yeah? Well, what's the solution?
Actually, the solution is very easy. Live healthy.
Okay.
Then it's of no danger. So it's about realizing that the food we buy in supermarkets is as depleted from minerals as the soils of the industrial agriculture. A banana from a ecological farming contains 200 times more nutrients than a banana from the supermarket. And you do not eat 200 bananas a day from the supermarket, so just make the bill, you're starving inside out. Your system is not getting nutrients. You take in glyphosate on daily basis from the supermarket. Glyphosate is a heavily poison. The intestines say poison is not allowed into the body, so it creates a mucus layer to store the poisons, hoping that after a couple of days the source of poison is going to be away to flush out the poison. But if you keep on eating this stuff on everyday basis, the mucus layer is getting thicker and thicker and more poisonous and more poisonous every day until your body is screaming because it's completely sealing the intestines. You're not taking up nutrients anymore. And then at a certain point the body screams, but I need to, and then you extract the pure poison from the mucus layer. And this is running in circles in the body on different levels. So the basic healing is cleansing the intestines and then not ever again entering a supermarket, because this is pure poison for the body. We need to create the demand for ecologically grown food. Yeah, I know in Germany it's by now no problem to supply yourself. You have big, huge supermarkets dealing only good quality. I know in the United States, for example, it's impossible to get access to a healthy food.
Well, in the United States, I lived there over 20 years, but there is this Wild Oats and Whole Foods, and recently I've been reading articles how they backstabbed people, and the corporation is using Monsanto, and they're not telling people that their produce is GMO. I mean, what a backstabbing here. So this is becoming more and more difficult. But we try to find clean and good food. Can you please describe, give us a diet, just give us a diet. What do you made some changes, we talked privately, you made some changes. You want to keep your body not in acidic state, right? It's alkalized, balance your pH, that's important. Minerals are very important, and cleansing the body. Do you have any advice? Really, some people are listening is like, what? Give them like specifics, like what the diet should be.
First of all, sugar is feeding fungi. So zero sugar. In 1900, sugar was a drug labeled as illegal to trade. And you needed a recipe to get it from the pharmacy. And it came during the war that it became food. So this is pure poison. Milk is nice till age 3. Afterwards, the body loses the ability to run on it. And it is adding a lot to the mucus layer. Yes. Meat is something we can take in by biology instead of starving. So actually the biology is vegetarian, but we have this ability to take in meat, and then it takes, like it is for hunger situation, the body takes 48 hours to fully digest meat because of the length of the vegetarian intestine. And it does it, and we can survive on meat if we are in danger of starving. But we shouldn't eat anything else afterwards. So if you had meat, take a break of 48 hours. If you don't, the body says, oh great, starvation is over, we have normal food again, and then it stops digesting.
But in West, East, everywhere, look at Czech Republic, we eat meat, breakfast, lunch, dinner, every day, 7 days a week. Yes.
Yeah, so it's rotting in the intestines and adding poison. Yes. It is rotting. If you don't digest it to the end, it is rotting. Yes. Yeah, and it's poisonous. So this is one aspect of me that you should know. It's not like don't do it, but if you do it as nature demands it. Right. And so isn't it easier to just go vegetarian? Yes. Yeah. If you have, it is possible if you get ecologically grown food. If you get supermarket food and vegetarian, you will starve, and your body screams for meat, which is a healthy reaction. So you need to serve both sides. Get full nutrition, first get the intestines cleansed to be able to take in anything, then become vegetarian on no poison and good nutrition values, and then you will not demand for meat anymore. And this is healthy then. So this is on diet. And then all the conditions are reversed. This is the way we cure Morgellon victims. First of all, diet, and then kick-starting the liver that is out of function. This needs some...
So if you have a person who already has the symptoms and visible symptoms and is sick, and doctors have no answers, right? Doctors just give you psychiatric drugs, as you said, right? And they say it's all in your head, as I heard. So how do you cure it? Do you cure it?
What we developed first was a remedy based on zeolite and radionics. Radionics to give the body the information to balance the candida environment and kickstart the liver. Because of the liver, if the candida environment is disturbed, the liver is not working. Because of the pathogenic candida love acidity and heavy metals, so they tell the liver, stop cleansing. And this needs to be removed. That was kind of the first remedy we developed to heal Morgellons, but we realized the condition is getting better and better, but it's not going away, and it's returning after like 3/4 of a year if people don't treat the intestines. Because if there's no intake of nutrients, then the liver will go bad again, and the candida will return after a while. So it needs, like with autism, it needs the healing on deepest level, which always is intestines. Yeah, this is how they heal autism as well. It's possible. Just follow the Riviera protocol. First step is cleansing out the mess in the intestines and reviving the intestines to get some nutrients in to be able to cure the rest of the system. This is kind of medical research we